Hey, yo! Welcome back to the Dugout and Beyond. So we are officially done with college football. We had number 8 seed Ohio State beating number 7 seed here Notre Dame 34-23, which it kind of looked like Ohio State was going to kind of run away with this in the beginning to basically the third quarter, the beginning of the third quarter, and then Notre Dame kind of started picking up again. Like, hey, like we gotta not look so bad right now, but it was definitely a tough loss here for Notre Dame in the end, as it definitely didn't look as good as it could have been for them. And throughout the year, of course, they did have some tough losses as they went on throughout the season, but for the most part, they had a pretty decent game. Well, a lot of the last couple years have been kind of blowouts for the most part. I think there's maybe 1 year, like 4 or 5 years have been kind of blowouts for college football in general. But yeah, we had, of course, it was Georgia and TCU. And I mentioned a little while ago with the Max Duggan video, and of course, Stetson Bennett. That was a blowout. I think that was like 40-something, 50-something to 7. But yeah, in this one, I think Ohio State also had probably one of the hardest runs out of the entire bracket here. Of course, we had the new 12-team playoffs, which had Clemson, Texas, Arizona State having the bye. Number 9 Tennessee, which played Ohio State in the first round, where Ohio State blew them out 42-17. Oregon had the bye, where then they played Oregon. Ohio State played Oregon, of course, in Rose Bowl, Pasadena, where that basically just looked like they had no chance against Ohio State in there, as they were trying to complete their undefeated season there. We all know that didn't happen. We had SMU, Penn State, Boise having the bye, Indiana, Notre Dame there against number 10 Indiana. Then they went against number 2 Georgia, then 6 Penn State. But again, and then of course Georgia had the bye there as number 2 seed. But yeah, I think that Ohio State had the probably the hardest run out of probably any team in this bracket, as they went through, as I just mentioned, at that point undefeated Oregon, having an amazing season and probably having half their team now getting drafted. Of course, with Dillon Gabriel, of course, going into Heisman voting and finishing top 4 right there. And then we had them going against Texas, who had one of the top defenses in the entire nation here, as they kind of they had some really good timely plays along it. It wasn't a blowout, 28-14 against Texas there. And then yeah, they so I think that after going and beating Oregon, I think they actually had the confidence to go and get them and get Texas there. They just had to get past that that defense in there for that one. And Texas actually, of course, it was basically a home game for Texas, as I think they were like an hour away from where Texas actually plays. Of course, Ohio State does not play in Texas, that we all know that. So it was definitely a home game for Texas, and it did not turn out that way. And we did have, of course, those on the fumble at the very end of the game. It was like the 8-yard line that Ewers got tackled, but it basically strip sack and fumble, and they ran it back for like a 90-something yard touchdown there to basically just blow that game out and finish it in the last couple minutes there. And then, of course, we get to this one where Ohio State just looked consistent, very consistent throughout this game, as we have Notre Dame kind of just going through it. But we had the box scores here for it, as we have Will Howard, of course, for Ohio State, going 17-21, 231 yards, 11 averaging yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, with a 99.1 QB rating in this. With we actually had 2 QBs come out for Notre Dame, but it was mainly Riley Leonard, who actually transferred, we guys know, from Duke last year to Notre Dame, as he went 22 of 31, 255 yards on just under 8.5 averaging yards on throws, 2 touchdowns, but also no interceptions, and also had a 88.1 QBR in this one. And then we had Steve Angeli, who had 1 throw but no completions, and yeah, all of that. But yeah, for the most part, we had pretty good. We had one rushing. We had one guy going for over 100 yards. Was Quinshon Judkins of Ohio State, getting exactly 100 yards on 11 carries with averaging 9.1 yards a game and having 2 touchdowns in this. So, hey, with the longest of the runs out there with 70 yards. So, good. So that's where we all come out to, and hey, yeah, we have Ohio State. Yeah, we have the whole Ryan Day be fired because they lost to Michigan, and kind of a lot of Michigan fans were worried about beating Michigan throughout the Ohio State beating Michigan throughout the season. That they're like, oh yeah, the national championship, whatever. But hey, you win the national champion. Congrats to you. Now we have them finishing at 14-2 in the year. Same thing with Notre Dame finishing 14-2 on this year. But yeah. We had, of course, a great season. Definitely more videos to come. Of course, there is a lot of transfers going on now. People entering the portal. We have an interesting one coming up soon about a guy who probably should be in the works doing some type of 9-5 or something like that, but not in college anymore. Stay tuned for that one. Subscribe for it. And I'll see you next one. Peace!